No matter how strong you are, a baby monkey can still rip your arms off and beat you with them. There's just a few sayings I like to tell myself in order to put my ego in check and make sure that I'm lifting for longevity and not just for some vain reasons. Let's think about that a little bit more too. No matter how strong you are, there's always going to be a ton of people way stronger than you. If you're really strong, how long can you really sustain that anyway? And is that really the best thing for you in regards to health and longevity? And really, what's the purpose? And even if you say, well, I want to be able to say, I want to be strong enough to be able to, I just want to be really strong. Well, like, what do you need to be strong enough to do? And I was thinking about this. Like, probably one of the most physically demanding things you might have to do in life is like help somebody move. And I know that right now, myself, I'm not as strong as I've ever been, but I'm plenty strong enough to help somebody move, right? Or you might say, I want to be able to defend myself if I was to have to get into some sort of altercation and protect, my family or something. Well, how strong do you really need to be able to do that? Let's even look at UFC fighters or fighters in general, boxers, and what kind of characteristics physically are they looking for? It's not always the biggest, strongest guys that are the best, right? Oftentimes those big, strong guys get tired the fastest. So if that's your reason for that, then really what you might want to do is you might want to focus more on cardio, because a lot of times it's the guys who have the more cardio that are able to, win some type of combat. Or if it's not cardio, then it's going to be some type of martial arts training like, jiu-jitsu or some type of skill, not necessarily how strong you are. Because if you're just really strong, you might just get tired really fast if you're fighting somebody that knows what they're doing. So again, what are the reasons why you want to be strong? And I guess here I'm talking more about myself, right? So again, my goals here are strength and longevity. 30 years old, been training since I was 13. I'm 17 years in. At around 25 years old, I started having a lot of aches and pains, and that's where I kind of decided to take my foot off the gas pedal a little bit, and I took a step back from training for strength, and I really started doing a lot of like lower intensity stuff like yoga, and I really just got into like tempo training, so lifting light weights at really slow tempos. And I just tried a lot of different things, and it was a good thing for my growth, and it was really a good thing for my body in terms of just allowing myself to take a break from the beating of the heavy weights. And I would say in hindsight, maybe I didn't do it in the perfect way where I could have maintained a lot of my strength, because I did lose a lot of strength. But at the same time, I accomplished what I wanted to, and I kind of gave my body a break. And then for the last year or so, I've been trying to kind of build myself back up. So I'm gonna pull up a little, put up a little chart of my my most recent gains. Now, if you're looking at this chart, the middle column that's highlighted in yellow is my personal records that are all pretty recent. Now, in the ideal ratios category, those ratios are all off of the squat number. So the squat number is exactly what my squat is, and then it bases off of that what your deadlift should be, which is 120% of your squat, it's in green, which means I'm there. I've achieved that. And then my front squat, I don't actually know what my front squat actually is. 190 was an estimation. I've never actually, haven't tested my front squat in years and years. I should also mention that the PRs that I set a week or two ago, that's the first time I maxed out in over 5 years. It's kind of crazy. But you can see that my front squat is really the most struggling one. So my goals going into this next 16 weeks of training are to improve my squat based on these numbers. And then on the right hand side, those are like more long-term goals. Again, I'm not really in a rush to hit any strength goals. I'm more focused on doing it in a way that is sustainable and that I'm dominating the form and technique each step along the way. So let's talk a little bit about the 5-3-1 program. And before we do, I want to mention something that I noticed on my squat technique in these videos.
Let's see, I worked up to, I believe, 215 pounds, which is not that crazy, but for me, it's fairly heavy. You'll notice my left knee, there's a little bit of like lateral movement, a little instability, and that's something that I noticed when I saw these videos. So um, just pointing something out that I saw. And something else I want to mention is the bar looks crooked. It's just because my rack is a little bit slightly not straight, so that the pins are actually in the right place, but it's slightly off, which might bother some people. It doesn't really bother me. All right, pulling up a picture of the 531 program and talking a little bit about it. So what are some of the features here that are noteworthy? So for one, you can see that these are my 3 sessions from this week. And if you look in the reps column, all the reps are 5 this week, and that's kind of that's protocol for 531. There's a week of 5s, there's a week of 3s, and then there's a week of 1s. Actually, that last 3 week, there's a set of 5, a set of 3, and a set of 1. Now, again, I want to give Jim Windler props because the actual 531 program is, his idea. He came up with it. He's an awesome guy I love to listen to and learn from. He played football at Arizona. He trained with Louis Simmons at Westside Barbell, so he's awesome, and that's where I got this program. So again, that's kind of the breakdown. Now, where my program is a little bit different is what I do is, so I use the Training Max just like Jim Windler does. So that yellow number highlighted is 90% of my actual max, and that's what all my percentages in my training are based off of, a 90% number. But Jim Windler's 531 is a 4-day cycle. Mine is just 3 days, so I cut a day off. And then also he has a few more, or just different in general, assistance exercises. So the exercises I have listed underneath are just kind of my assistance work, and his are a bit different. Another thing he does different is the primary exercises that he uses. So for me, I have back squat, military press, and deadlift. I believe he has 4 workouts that are always the primary exercises, and they don't change at all. And I will change mine, and you'll see that in a month from now when I'm in the phase 2 of the 531. I'll switch those exercises up, which is actually, it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more like the conjugate program, where you're kind of trying to get variation, and that's just a change that I've made because I actually really enjoy variation. I've been training for so long. I don't want to do the same things all the time. I get really bored by doing the same stuff all the time. So I really like the ability to switch up the exercises, and that's what I like about this style, what I'm doing. So I'll run 5-3-1 for 3 weeks. I'll do a deload week, and then after that deload week, I'll come back and I'll switch up all the exercises, and they'll all be different. Now, something else to point out in this phase of training. So you've seen that it says 5-3-1 accumulation. So what is accumulation? So we're in phase 1 or block 1 of a 16-week cycle with 4 different blocks, right? So the whole purpose of this block is really accumulating volume. That's what accumulation means. So something that you'll see in this phase of training is you're going to see me just trying to build volume in my sessions. So over the next 2 months, I'm going to be building volume. That's basically what's happening. So for the first 8 weeks, there's going to be accumulating volume, and then after that, I'll go into a basic strength phase that'll be 4 weeks, and then I'll go into a max strength phase that'll be my final phase, that conjugate phase that'll be just trying to test my max, basically max intensity training. So something else you're going to notice, or something else that's a little bit different about this first phase of training is, let me move my, so basically what I'm doing here, something that I'm using that you might not see again in the program is, again, I said I'm increasing volume. I'm going to be working on isometrics, so that's actually something that you can see here. This is a heel elevated split squat hold, so I'm trying to work obviously on some ankle strength. And this is obviously the isometrics, which is a focus on this first phase. Body weight exercises. So you'll see I do the single leg squat on the bench, and now I'm doing some isometric stuff. Another thing you'll see is shorter rest periods. So you can see that I have a stopwatch, and I'm timing these sets. And then another thing that's different about these first 8 weeks is going to be target sessions, is what I call them. It's basically sessions that I'll run on off days where I'll basically choose maybe one exercise per body part Really, there's kind of a focus on beach muscles, so like upper body, arms, shoulders, back, things like that. And I'll do like 1 to 2 sets of exercises for each body part, and that's again accumulating volume. And so what's different about that is, so obviously in the accumulation phase, I want to build volume, so I don't mind throwing some stuff in on off days if I feel up for it. Whereas if I'm in a basic strength or max strength phase here at the end of this 16-week cycle, I don't want to take anything away from recovering from each session and being able to put max effort into getting higher strength numbers. Whereas here in this earlier, the first 8 weeks of the training cycle, I don't really care about that. I'm really just trying to, that's the whole purpose, is I'm trying to put a ton of volume through the body. But again, it's all kind of what you might call cheap volume. It's nothing, the exercises are not super intense. There's an emphasis on body weight. I'm not using barbells. The only time I'm using barbells and dumbbells is in that primary exercise. So for example, obviously the squat, the deadlift, or the shoulder press, bench press. That's the only time I'm touching a barbell. Where everything else is body weight or something like that. So the intensity is not super high. So thank you for tuning in to episode 2 of Strength Training with a Specialist. If there are any questions that you have, please drop them in the comment section below, and be on the lookout each Friday for a new episode. Have a great week.